right, so here we are. Welcome to the HVAC Game Skool community weekly live call, the Drive to Work Wednesday, where we just take 15 to 20 minutes and just answer community questions. So the first question is, do we have any questions from the community today?
There is no question from the community today. I didn't get anything.
Hmm. Okay, well, I have a list of like some topics. They're like sort of random assortment of things, but I wanted to cover some things, so we'll see how much time we get out of those. And then if there's questions that come up, then I guess you can just throw them in there and ask me, and then we'll go over them.
Okay, no problem.
Nice. So, the first thing that I wanted to cover is the recent school community upgrades, and we got a bunch of people that joined. So that is really awesome because we have a new community feature, which is a 7-day free trial, which I'm really excited about. And it was recently implemented into the school website and app and stuff like that. So it's a new developer feature, and I implemented that to just give everyone the opportunity to really check it out for themselves and see the courses, and you'll get full access to everything like if you would be paying. So you can engage in the community, you can DM other technicians and connect with other technicians in your area or all over the world actually. And then you can look at all the courses that we have, all the introductory courses, all the system components, all the troubleshooting, troubleshooting 101, troubleshooting 201. It's all there and it's all accessible. So I just wanted to cover that as a new community feature that is available. And it seems to be liked so far because I enabled it and then we got, I think, like almost 10 people that joined just to check it out. So that's awesome.
That's good. That's good. That's very good. Yeah, yeah. The courses are really good. You're doing amazing.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah, I just got another feedback from someone that said that the courses are very easy to follow, very easy to understand, and so they're very short, very concise, like everything as short as possible while trying to get all the information across, which is really what I'm a big fan of because I hate watching 20-minute YouTube videos to teach you how to check one thing
hmm
because people want watch time or whatever. I don't know. But so I'm always trying to make the videos under 5 minutes and just get one or two specific points across. So that's how I structured the community too. So that seems to be well liked. And talking about the videos, I just recently recorded, edited, and uploaded 2 new videos. I also covered it in our changelog in the community tab, where you can find all the updates. I don't know how many people regularly check it, but it's right on the top there. You can see all the updates I'm doing to the community. Sometimes it's like little things, and sometimes it's updates on new videos that I'm posting. But there's 2 videos that were requested recently. One was on gas furnace parts and operation. So I took the time and while going through some fault PMs, just recorded a video explaining the different components of gas heating in rooftop package units, but it also applies to residential gas furnaces because the components are pretty much the same. Maybe they're like smaller, they're in a little bit different location, but they do the same thing. So it's a video, I think it's around 3 minutes, and I explain everything from the heating coil, getting to the thermostat, to the gas valve being activated, to the spark coming on, to the inducer fan motor. Like everything is explained and it's there. And I added it to the System Components 101 course because technically it is a system component that I'm explaining and that I'm covering. And I had nothing on heating yet because we started in the summer season. So that was a good catch by one of the community members. And so now I remedied that. Now we have that in there too.
oh,
It's
that's
really
good.
good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. All right.
Yes. And then I also recorded another video because I keep getting questions about electrical troubleshooting and also compressors. And some people asked about the difference between single phase and 3-phase compressors and how to test them and what's the difference. So I recorded a video on checking three-phase compressors, how to ohm out the compressor, how to test connection to ground, and how to make sure that they're internally good.
Mhm.
So it's also a relatively short video. I'm just going over the how to do it. You can use it with any voltmeter. I mean, you have that under resistance settings, and you just check the terminals between each other. You check the terminals to ground, and I'm covering that. I think it's like a minute or two long video. So really, I'm trying to keep it concise and as short as possible. And those are two new videos that I just recently uploaded, and I'm working on more every week. So if there is feedback from the community, things that you see that are not covered, that should be covered, or things, you can also let me know if there's things that are really good that you like in the videos. It's good to know for me because then I know what I can do more of, what helps you learn faster, you know? So yeah, just leave comments or DM me or just post in the community. Anything, anything to let me know is good. So those, I wanted to cover those. And then talking about fall PMs, I wanted to cover a thing that somebody asked about at some point, which was flame rollout.
Was
And
what?
I'm not sure,
I didn't hear
flame,
that.
flame rollout.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many people are familiar with it and what it means, but there is also a rollout safety switch on gas furnaces and gas heaters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to cover that quickly. And basically, flame rollout is a condition that you don't want to have happen. And it is when there's something wrong with your flame.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of going into the burners, like going in and coming out burnt on the top through the flue, which is where the inducer fan motor has the exhaust gas. It's called the flue. It's a pipe that goes out of the building or out of the unit. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't have the exhaust gas inside the space. But if there's anything going on with the flame, you have some kind of obstruction or so, then it can happen that the flame doesn't go in, but it gets pushed back out into the control panel where the gas valve is, where your safeties are, where your wires are, and all of that stuff. So you definitely don't want to have that happen because I mean, obviously you have a high heat flame that will melt and burn stuff and you can catch stuff on fire. So to prevent that, there's a safety called a flame rollout switch, which is usually mounted on top of the gas burners. And it's just I think they call it a thermocouple, which basically just means that you have a metal and it's connected like it's normally closed, but then when it heats up, the metal disconnects. I mean, either like they have different types. They have different types. Some of them they're resettable. Some of them, once they're gone, and you have to replace them. So, and that just activates with the heat from the flame, and it's usually right where the burners end, and it goes into the burner tubes. And some things that can cause that, like, I mean, you just have to look at it and find out what it is. But in my experience, what I found most often that causes it is when your burners, because in the summer season when you're cooling, you have cool air running across those burners, and there's moisture. And if you're not getting full dehumidification, you might have some moisture stuck on there, and then they tend to rust. And when you're turning them on in the winter time, then you have the heating and expanding and the contracting with the cold in the summer from like the condensation and everything. So you have the rust and the expansion of the metal, and then they tend to crack. And when you have little gaps in the burner tubes, because your blower motor pushes air across your burner tubes, when you have little cracks in there, it pushes air against the flame. So then it causes the flame to be pushed back out into your control compartment. And that's what I've seen mostly is when you have lack of maintenance or something happened with the burners and you have little holes, little cracks in there, and then you tend to get flame rollout,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know, does it make sense or kind
Yeah.
of hard to visualize? I don't know.
No,
I don't know if you saw the video that I recently did, but
I did not, but I will watch it today because I have like a bunch of
uh,
to watch now.
yeah. And that's one of the main things that I found. And also you can have incorrect flame gas mixture, which maybe the inducer fan is not running correctly, or your gas valve is set incorrectly, and you're not getting the right mixture, the right combustion. So then the flame is incorrect. That can cause flame rollout or incorrect burning.
Mhm.
And then also, if your inducer fan is not running, it should not actually activate, because if the inducer fan is not running, the flames are not supposed to come on. But if there's like a stuck pressure switch or something, and your inducer fan comes on partially and you have a partial burning of the flame, you might also get flame rollout. So those are things to check. But yeah, I just did a video on it, and if you're in the community, you can check that out as well. And if you have any questions on that, then let me know, and I can make more specific videos, more in-depth videos on that particular topic that you have questions about.
Okay. No, I think that's good. I think it was easy. I did understand it, so that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, especially now for the winter season, because I'm from Florida, and in Florida, I mean, I did have some gas operated heating,
Mhm.
but it wasn't as common as here in Texas. And Texas is also hot, but I think it gets colder during the winter times. So they do have a lot of, especially on commercial, they do have gas furnaces, gas burners, and stuff like that. So that's
Right.
why I'm covering it as well. And I think in some of the colder states, they're already using heating since a month or two. So
Yeah,
so that's why people ask me about
that's true.
it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then lastly, I was also asked about low voltage troubleshooting and electrical troubleshooting in general,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of hard to do, I think, just talking about it, unless you have a specific question that somebody has and wants to get answered, because there's many variations and many little things that you can run into. But in my the way I do electrical troubleshooting is I always separate out between high voltage and low voltage troubleshooting. Like if I know on the unit that I'm getting my high voltage,
Mm-hmm.
then I tend to just forget about all the high voltage and just go into the controls. And the controls is anything that has the 24 volts and is related to the thermostat. And on your low voltage, you have all your safeties. So if you're not getting control voltage, which is usually what I'm seeing more of, because if you're having issues with your power, your high voltage coming into the unit, it's usually related to some kind of component part failure. And it's usually something going on with the compressor or with the fan motors or something, because they're either shorted out, or it's something very obvious. Like you'll go to the unit and you'll smell some burnt stuff, and see like some kind of spark or something. So that's usually very obvious. And either the breaker is tripped, or your fuse is blown, or something is going on, or like wires are melted together. So usually in my experience, high voltage issues are very obvious to find. And the more problematic is the low voltage stuff. And it can cause anything from like boards, control boards shorting out because you have a short circuit on the low voltage side,
Mm-hmm.
or you can have low voltage fuses that are blown, but it's a little bit harder to trace. But the first step that I would take is differentiate between high voltage and low voltage, and just see where your problem is. And if you're having a problem on the low voltage side, just focus on that and find out what the problem is and trace it down and handle that, and then go back to your high voltage and see if there's something else going on.
Okay.
That has helped me a lot.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. That
Uh,
makes sense. Okay.
yeah.
Well, I guess I don't have anything specifically else to cover, but I guess that will cover more than 15 minutes for now. And then,
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to cover a little bit more on the low voltage, but yeah, that just give some tips or some ideas of how you can go ahead and troubleshoot that.
mm-hmm,
And it's either a process of elimination,
mm-hmm,
or you're just testing different wires.
mm-hmm,
And you can also see sometimes in the unit when you reset it,
mm-hmm,
then you can see once the equipment comes on, at what point does it trip.
mm-hmm,
For example, if you reset the unit and the blower fan comes on, but once the compressor turns on, the unit shuts off,
Uh-huh.
then you know that it's probably some kind of short circuit that's related to the cooling stage,
Mm-hmm.
and you can isolate based on that. But also, if you have your meter and you have the power off, you can check the wires to ground, the low voltage wires to ground, and there should be resistance on there because
Mm-hmm.
usually you have your contactors and the coil of the contactors.
Mm-hmm.
You're reading that between, for example, your Y, which is your cooling stage. It goes through the contactor, and the contactor then is connected to neutral to ground.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll probably have somewhere between 8 to 15 ohms resistance on that line. So if you're checking the Y terminal to ground, you probably have anywhere from 8 to 15 ohms resistance. Sometimes I've seen it as low as like 5 or 6, but usually it's higher. And if you're getting into like the range of like 1 to 3 ohms, it's very likely that the coil on the contactor is bad and the contactor needs to be replaced. So you can also check resistance between, for example, Y and G, which is usually the fan and the cooling stage.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see because there's not supposed to be any connection between those two. They're
Okay.
supposed to be separate, independent control circuits.
Okay.
And if you have anything on there, then you know that some of the insulation between those two wires has rubbed off and somewhere they're touching. So sometimes technicians to jump out units, they remove a little bit of insulation on some of the wires,
Mm-hmm.
and that can cause then wires to touch and create a short circuit between two lines. So once you have the fan come on, the cooling stage comes on too, but then you have a loose connection, so maybe it's like chittering. So these are some things that you can look at, but I would always just go step by step, just observe, see what is going on, and see if it's high voltage, if it's low voltage, divide between those two. And if you're having on a low voltage, just ignore the high voltage and troubleshoot and go step by step and see where's my problem. Do I have a short, like, do I have a blown fuse, which probably means that there's a connection to ground, and then trace and just go step by step. And then, yeah, if you check anything on resistance, always make sure that your power is off because otherwise you might get funky readings on resistance.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Um,
those are some topics that I wanted to cover today, and you can go in depth on all of them. But based on specific questions that people have, it's probably more ideal to cover those. Yeah.
okay. Alrighty then. I guess that's it. That all ends our meeting, and then we'll go with next week's action. Alrighty?
Yes. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye.